The federal government of Nigeria says mathematics is now a compulsory subject for all students sitting for O-level examinations, contrary to its earlier position during the week. Earlier on Tuesday, in a press statement issued by Folashade Buriowo, spokesperson for the Federal Ministry of Education, she had announced that senior secondary school students in the Arts and Humanities class would no longer be required to present a credit in mathematics in their senior school certificate examination for tertiary admissions. Buriowo had stated that the reform became necessary after years of restricted access, which denied many qualified candidates admission opportunities. This had generated controversy as some educationists rejected the policy shift, saying it would further encourage laziness among students and negatively impact their academic excellence and performance. But in the new statement on Sunday, Buriowo said the new admission guidelines do not exempt any candidate from registering and sitting for mathematics. The ministry also urged students, parents, and stakeholders to rely solely on official communication channels for verified policy updates. To help us unpack this latest development, I am joined by Dr. Peter Ogundoro, the founder of Nigerian Teachers Community and also an education researcher, and it joins me virtually from Lagos. Thank you so much, Dr. Ogundoro.
My pleasure.
Nice to have you around. Now, as an educationist and a researcher, is mathematics important for arts and humanities students?
Yeah, mathematics is relevant to every situation and circumstance, and everybody does need to have some level of numeracy to be able to cope in the world we live in today. Maybe that need wasn't there 40 years ago, but that need is there as we speak now. We know that those who lack the capacity to do simple calculations are not able to do businesses, are not able to help their employers, are not able to even function well on the road. Everything you do in life today, especially in a digital world, requires some level of literacy. We don't all have to know mathematics to a level where you're able to do calculus, but we need the basics, which compelling you to earn a credit in it in school certificate will help you to acquire. So I think we did make a mistake when we did come to that conclusion that those going into Arts and Humanities don't need it. There's hardly any society in the world today that is playing at that level.
And some experts say that removing mathematics as a requirement could make students lazy and affect performance negatively. Is that a fair concern for you too?
Yeah, definitely, because once you say you no longer have to earn a credit in it, what you have told students in effect is that they shouldn't bother about attending classes, when mathematics is what is to be taught. And that's what you have just told everyone. And even children in kindergarten classes are already aware of what we're discussing. And so even the policy somersault you're referring to is not really a policy somersault. Nothing has changed. The government is still insisting that you don't need a credit in mathematics if you're going to study an Arts or Humanities course. What they are only saying, by way of clarification, is that, well, until you finish secondary school, you still have to study mathematics, but you don't necessarily need a credit in it if what you're going to study has little or nothing to do with social sciences and the regular STEM courses. So I think that we are wrong there as a society, because we can't play at the level of STEM, science, engineering, technology, and competing effectively, especially our children, giving them access to global opportunities. If we don't compel them to learn mathematics, which teaches you discipline, teaches you patience, teaches you how to think analytically, teaches you logic, teaches you how to delay gratification, teaches you hard work. So we are trying to make life easy for our children, probably because politicians who run our climb are finding it easy to find resources through the government coffers to run their own lives, and they're trying to teach our children to operate at the same level. I think that we are running into very big trouble.
All right, Dr. Ogundoro, you said it's not a policy somersault, but then what does the government's quick reversal on mathematics say about the quality of policy formulation and even consultation within Nigeria's education system? I mean, it should have done some sort of consultation or stakeholder engagement before coming up with that policy stance in the first place, don't you think?
fantastic thinking there coming from you. They should have actually, brought you in as a consultant to help them to, determine how we formulate new policies. So before you come up with a new policy, you should talk to all the relevant stakeholders. And in this case, even the children who are should be at the center, front and center in what we do, should be consulted. Most of the time, we don't talk to them. We don't talk even to their parents. We just consult a few people who function within the corridors of power, and we just come out and dish out new policies, and we think we have consulted. So people start protesting, and we step backwards and change what we have told the world we're going to do. I think that we are embarrassing the country too much if we continue to look at life this way, if we continue to behave this way, if we continue to relate with all the stakeholders in the education industry. It looks like education industry is beginning to get more knocks along this line, which unfortunately is no good for us, because education remains the bedrock of development. Once you get it right, every other thing falls in place. So let's be more careful in the future. Before we step out and make any announcement, let's consult teachers, let's talk to school leaders, let's talk to school owners, let's talk to the students themselves. If you ask them, they will tell you that even though mathematics may be looking hard, they still want to know it. And if you talk to people like us who do research in the industry, we will tell you that the reason why some children find mathematics difficult is not because they lack the capacity to learn mathematics. It is because their teachers don't have the competencies required to be able to teach them mathematics in a way that they can enjoy it, learn it, and use it to solve practical problems.
Well, my maths teacher tried teaching me maths, but then, of course, it's still elementary when it comes to my learning capacity. But then, Dr. Ogundoro, now, the ministry said the goal was to make university admission more inclusive. And you would agree with me that there are some students who could not, at some point, gain admission to tertiary institutions because they could not even attain a C, a credit, in maths. So, can that goal still be achieved while keeping mathematics compulsory?
Well, I'm not sure we have evidence that proves the position the government has taken. I'm not aware that, for example, departments that offer English language, that offer mass communication in the universities can tell us that they are not able to find enough students to populate those departments, annually through JAM UTME. We don't have evidence that supports that. I'm not aware. I do research in the industry, and anybody who wants to be honest will confirm that this is the case. But what you find sometimes is that the interest of the people who formulate policies, the interest of politicians who run our affairs, from that national level, has a way of becoming national interest. Whereas it's just private and individual interests of some people who are lucky to operate within the corridors of power, who, when they suffer something, they try to use national interest to, give themselves privileges that probably they do not deserve. So we need to be very careful. The minister probably means well, but I think that the people he's listening to may have ulterior motives, may have selfish motives they are pursuing, selfish interests they are trying to meet, which he probably has not discovered. Someday he's likely to realize that he was deceived, and hopefully they will find the humility to come back and tell us that he was sorry.
Okay, so Dr. Ogundoro, I studied mass communication, right? And we had to learn economics and statistics at some point. I must tell you, it was a mess. Please don't nod. It was a mess for a lot of people. But then, should mathematics remain compulsory for students in fields like arts or philosophy, where it's not directly or expressly needed?
You mentioned philosophy. Philosophy is actually the place where you need maths more, because you can't become a philosopher if you can't do simple logic. And mathematics is about logic. So the person who needs it more than others is actually the person studying philosophy. And if you are studying mass communication, even English language, everybody especially in the Nigerian school system, where everybody who passes through that system, before you can graduate, they are required to produce a project, something you call a thesis, and to be able to collect data, talk to people who are living with the problem you're trying to solve, and be able to do their data analysis and produce results in terms of interpreting and helping society to understand where we have problems and how we can solve those problems. You need some level of literacy. You don't have to become a Chikobi to be numerate, but you need some level of numeracy to be able to function in the world we live in today. It's more critical in the digital world. Evidence we have coming from all the relevant agencies of even government in Nigeria and internationally, including UNESCO, UNDP, all the evidences coming from all of those places, are pointing to the fact that those who lack the capacity to handle simple numeracy are struggling to find jobs, and they are not going to be able to find jobs in the digital world. That's the truth of the matter. And so we shouldn't discourage our children from acquiring essential skills that will help them to get jobs, to create jobs, and to work with people who are obviously their employers. It's difficult for you to work in any setting today if you can't handle Excel. And it's difficult for you to be able to handle Excel, a Microsoft app, which you use to organize data and present them well. You won't be able to handle that well if you don't know basic mathematics, basic arithmetic. And that's one of the reasons why employers here are complaining that most of the people who are coming to them seeking jobs don't have the basic skills they need to be able to fit into the world of work. I think that we need to think seriously about what we're doing before we deceive our young people into thinking that numeracy is not an essential skill.
All right, finally, earlier on you talked about the fact that there are some teachers who lack the prerequisite skills to teach and impact students when it comes to most especially maths. So now, how can the ministry help students succeed in both mathematics and English, and even when it comes to recruiting teachers in those fields, especially in schools lacking, teachers that have those kind of knowledge and the resources to impact?
Yeah, we have an agency of government that has responsibility to ensure that the people who operate in our classrooms have the requisite skills to be able to function in those classrooms. That agency is called TRC, and Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. And I'm aware that the leader of that agency is making a deliberate effort now to see what they can do to ensure that the people who teach these kinds of subjects acquire the necessary skills. But it's going to take us some time because we are starting late. And so we should be humble, and honest enough to put more resources into training teachers, because the ones we have there now, most of them haven't got the pedagogical, skills to be able to run proper classrooms that will make learning mathematics an engaging experience. That is actually the truth. So let's put more resources in that area. Let's be humble to recognize that our teachers are not where they should be, and then let us help them to acquire those skills. It's not entirely their fault. Most faculties of education are not training teachers well. So we need to adopt better methodologies to get more mass-made teachers. And we also need to recognize teachers and pay them well so that competent people, the best brains, smart people can move in the direction of teaching as a profession. What you find today is that the best brains don't want to go and become teachers because we don't pay them well. We also harass them out of classrooms. We embarrass them. We don't give them recognition. How many times have we heard about a teacher who was given national honors? No matter how hard the teacher has worked. Most of the people, again, teaching mathematics in our classrooms today are engineers who probably know mathematics but don't have the capacity to teach mathematics. Okay. The two are not the same. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Ogundoro, for sharing your thoughts with us on the news.
My pleasure.